Had you ever thought about that? It's like
Yes.
a horn player type thing?
No, but I can tell you how I thought of it is, or the way I see it, and the way I see sitting behind the drums, as a drummer,
Yeah.
and the drums sitting there, and like what to do. As I mature more, I see it as a flow, it's a flow of energy that, let's say the rhythm that I play contains a flow of energy that is not locked to the rhythm,
Right.
I mean, I can like go off. Now I'm talking in like a pop or rock context, even though like I believe like in like holding the beat,
Right.
and like one of my drum teachers was Pete Magadini, and he used to tell me like one of the things about white drummers is that they always try to play too much, and that they don't feel confident enough to just like let it sit.
Right.
Let it just like let the magic of the groove happen.
Yeah.
And when he told me that, I was already into it. And just like, him telling me that confirmed it to a depth within myself that has, lasted. And so I see like a sustaining of a rhythm, like really important. And I feel that you can sustain a rhythm, and still like play in it. It has to be like in the right context, like flows, like whether you choose between doing like rolls in it, to make it like a rolling kind of, rolling rhythm, or something that's, like attacks you, or like is upbeat and how do you say in your language, where you're not limited, I guess it sounds like when I'm saying like all jazz people have always done, except that I'm talking about it in a pop context. At the same time, I'm not talking about doing that. I'm not talking about myself as like doing that strictly in a pop context, like playing other things that, like the rhythm is there always implied while you're doing other things.
Right.
But what we do is create sections of the music that continue in that rhythm, and you can take it somewhere else, And I'm not quite sure how to express that in words, because it depends on each tune, like the way that you improvise, or play, so you keep it always there. Let's say you don't want to lose the trance ever.
Right.
And I would say like the closest thing to that is Elvin,
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, but he never lost, the trance of what he was doing.
Yeah, that's one guy I'd like to go see, man. I've never seen him play.
Yeah, we're good friends.
Really?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough at a young age to meet all my heroes,
Really?
Yeah.
You're lucky.
Everybody to everybody. And, which is good for me because it's good to meet your heroes, because then there's nowhere else to go but with yourself,
Yeah. Did you ever consciously try to like copy any one particular cat?
Oh, all of them.
Yeah.
All of them. What I would try to get to though while copying was not so much copying, but getting like to the very heart of what it was they were trying to do, so that like their expression of that, I could pick up like the intention of their expression, like the way you touch a drum, the way, like it's so transparent.
Right.
After a while, you find that like music is so transparent and so like naked, how much it reveals the person. Whether the person like comes off that way or not is another story. That's another thing that I learned, I mean,
What do you mean?
oh, let's say I always thought Miles Davis was a beautiful person,
Right.
because he played such beautiful music. And then like, when for a while he was hanging around, and I'm not saying he's not, because I know that he is. It's just that like you become disoriented by meeting your heroes and expecting them to be the way you always thought they were. So it's always good, to meet your heroes so that you can relate yourself to them and their personal experience and your personal experience, and move on. And like the essential thing about relating to somebody, where somebody.
Well, they become. You see them as they are, not as you imagine them to be.
Yeah, but it also brings on a higher awareness of the music they make in relationship to the way that they project themselves, as individuals. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you know that there's something else within them aside from the way they project themselves. Then you decide within yourself, do I want to project the same thing I am when I play, or do I want to project something else?
Something else.
And I think the problem with a lot of rock musicians is that they get hung up in projecting on a personal level what the music is, what they think the music is, you know, the attitude of the music.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's just like the cool,
I agree.
you know, just like bebop, right? You know, everybody was cool, and everybody had to do heroin, everybody had to do this and that, and everybody had to be super cool, like, you know, for it to be that. Well, now we know none of that's true.
Right.
And we can like transcend those barriers and go across those borders and like play anything we want to play and be just as we want to be. Like it can be like a total unified action throughout the day and throughout your life, you know. So that like what you play is what you are.
What you are, for sure, man.
And you can like make a stronger attempt like within your life to make your projection to people, which I'm beginning to feel like should run true with the way you feel about the music that you play. And if I don't feel, you know, wonderful about the music that I play, or like very sensitive and with a lot of feeling and desire, like to communicate like that, an essence of a feeling while I'm playing, then I should feel the same way when I'm not playing. And I should attempt the same thing to me, to communicate to people,
Whether you're playing or not.
whether I'm playing or not, that same essence. So that like it's a direct reflection, you know, when I'm there. Now, that's me personally. That's, you know.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. That makes sense. That makes sense.
To me, it makes sense because like I want it to be continuous and I want it to be a flow.
Yeah.
And I want to make music that like kind of goes beyond the music, you know, so that it causes an effect that awakens things within people that.
Let me ask you, I understand what you're talking about. Are you going to try to do it like on a 50-50 thing between lyrics and instrumental? You know what I'm saying? And it was like some cats might go out and write very philosophical lyrics, try to get your message across that way, you know, not worry so much. Other guys maybe try to get the instrumental to create a feeling like inside the listening audience.
I see no difference in it. You know, there's no conflict right there to me. I want the audience. I don't have the audience. It's because I'm not there. You know, and I know that as a fact within myself. I know that as a fact. So there's no questioning it or doubting it.
Right.
It's just that like I know like the people will be there when I'm there. If I'm all the way there with myself.
People will be there.
I mean,
I agree.
That's me individually. That's me. Like, it's nobody else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not speaking for anybody else. I'm just speaking for myself. And this is the way I believe it, is that if they're there, then I'm there. Because I find no conflict, like, and I don't have to, like, pretend or do this or that. All I have to do is like, really, really do it, you know? And I feel that, like, people will be there with me. That's an intuitive feeling that like a lot of people will tell me is wrong because well, the people don't want that, or the people don't want this, or the people don't. What I'm saying is like what I'm in touch with, and that I feel intuitively is the same things that like mass audience is in touch with, whether it's like in or out, whether it's in or out music. Right. Like I feel like we can put it together to contrast each other, so that it'll all be in. It'll all like. You know, I mean, I plan on doing some really out things, but I plan on doing it in contrast to like a purely acoustic vocal piece. As beautiful as any body, still some nice words.
Yeah, I think you can do it.
Yeah, you know, and you know, it's just being aware, you know. I mean, since I love a really lot of it,
yeah,
I don't, you know, I want to create that situation. You know, there's a lot of conscious, and I love so much of it that I'm trying to create a situation that, you know, contains within it all of it without seeming diverse. Yeah. That seems, you know, I mean, like, oh, we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. I don't do that. It's just like all like runs together because the way you contrast like music. You know, there's a way to put together music at a set that things contrast to each other. And contrast extremes to each other, so they will both end up being totally acceptable.
Right. It depends on where, like you say, where you are. Depends on probably how you present it to the audience. No.
Yes.
If you come off like, oh well, I'm gonna try something.
Yeah.
You know, man, the audience is gonna.
No, you just do it and do it all the way.
Yeah, man.
Like contrast it with something that's like. Right.
The audience will say, these guys will really get, you know, yeah, you're right. Because it doesn't matter what you play, if the audience can feel if you're on it, you're getting into it.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And you could be up there playing the latest hits, looking at your watch, waiting for the big band. They won't get off on it, you know. So,
Any other kind of like specific drumming questions?
Well, we talked about your set. I don't know. We covered pretty much. Unless, can you think of? Okay, we're talking about studio drums versus live drums.
Let's see. To me,
Yeah, put somebody in, man. I don't have to hear myself. There you go.
let's say since I've left Santana and the records that I've done first, okay,
Yeah.
the most recent things, I see it as not separated. I've been trying to get a very live sound in the studio. I don't muffle my heads. I don't take my bass drum head off.
Mm-hmm.
On any of the Go things, nor Automatic Man. I use real thin heads on all the tom-toms to get the most response and tone.
Real thin heads?
Real thin.
Yeah.
That you can't get anywhere in New York.
What kind are they?
Ludwig Weathermaster CM concert.
You can't get them in New York?
Nobody wants them. Nobody has them. So especially, I find like them to be best for recording. And I use them on the Automatic Man album, on the Go albums. And I'll probably continue to use them because they don't last on the road.
You don't use them live, or do you use them
I
live?
prefer to use them, but they just don't last, you know. And I prefer that kind of response. And they're very thin, and you know, they get like a high pitch, not high pitch, but they're just very responsive.
Yeah.
In the studio and on the record, I'm very aware that like what goes on the record is going to be there forever. And I feel it's important to like keep an air of spontaneity about the whole thing while being totally prepared to play the piece of music that is in front of you so that you're familiar with it enough so you can take care of what has to be taken care of and still leave room for spontaneity and personal expression. And what usually ends up with myself is that I just play like the way I feel the song should be played.
Yeah.
In Santana, there were like, for a while, there was like some pop type songs that I was playing that I played more than most drummers would on them, you know, because I was trying to do something, you know, I was attempting to kind of play like Jack DeChanel in a pop film.
That's all right.
And, you know, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. And, you know, you try to find like, in a song, there's something that is right for it. You know, a rhythm that is right, or, you know, and a feeling that is right. So what you do is like try to, you know, go through all of it until you find the right thing. Once you find the right thing, then you work that thing until there's expression, you know.
Well, did you guys do much in any of the bands you've been in? Do you usually, you don't go into the studio and create songs, or is it things you've done on the road maybe?
Yeah, sometimes we do. You know, in Santana we used to like, you know, just do a lot of jamming.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of things were based off of grooves and stuff. In this band, we're doing a lot of jamming too. Automatic Man was all worked out. Same with the Go stuff. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much. You know, when you hear the live thing,
Yeah, I'll be able to pick up. Yeah.
You hear just a lot of improvising on me, like, so, you know, my best.
So even in the recording studio, no mufflers on any of the tubs or anything like that?
No, I used to, you know, some of the stuff with Santana, I used to listen to the engineers, you know, say, oh, you can't, you know, kill it, you know. Sometimes on the snare drum, of course, so I'll muffle it because it sounds better.
How?
You know, whether it's terry cloth or a wallet or whatever, just like for certain songs, like it's a certain sound that you want, you know, sometimes I'll deaden them, but I care for like, I like really responsive heads and, you know, thinner heads and try to get like a tonality out of the drums.
Yeah, yeah.
That works within a song without muffling them, you know.
How about like any, you tape up your cymbals in the recording studio or any of that?
Let's see, not generally. I usually choose the cymbals accordingly so I don't have to tape them, you know.
Yeah.
I'm really into cymbals and into the
Got a lot of
choices.
cymbals?
Yeah. And I choose them for tunes and recording, you know.
Different cymbals, really?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
So what about live? Just have them all set up?
Live, I'll choose things that like work best, you know, for all of them.
Yeah.
I don't change them live.
That pastry you didn't seem to be too thrilled with tonight.
Oh, it's cracked. That's why. I love the cymbal that's cracked. It's like 18-inch kind of fast, thin crafts.
Yeah.
And I also have like 24-inch crafts, you know.
24-inch
for
crash.
slow things, you know. or you can crash it slow. And, you know, a lot of cymbals that so yeah, cymbals are very important. Snare drum is very important. The bass drum is very important.
How about tuning? Tuning any specific?
Not to specific notes, but
Yeah.
just to the sound and the relationship between each other. And I will tune them in the studio to each song.
To each song?
To each piece. Oh yeah. Tune all the drums to each piece. Yeah.
In other words, you got 12 tunes on an album. You might tune your drums.
I might, or I might not. You know,
Yeah?
but if I feel
Wow.
it's called for, I'll definitely tune the drums.
So how do you overcome that live? Just can't do it.
Try to. Sometimes I'll even do it live, quickly, or it's more of a response thing. You know, that I feel from the drums. There is tonality very involved. Cause I very much involved. Cause I like to play melodically. You know.
Yeah.
And I like the tom-toms to resound with the pitch. So yeah, I'm pretty fickle about that. You know.
Prefer wood tubs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Although sometimes I like, you know, plastic for the, you know, the projection. You know, sometimes, just like sometimes you put a different foot pedal on your set and you play things you never played before. You know.
Right.
I'm still on my endless search for the right foot pedal.
What are you using now?
Man, I had 3 foot pedals back there tonight. So I mean, I'm just I find myself constantly trying foot pedals.
Yeah.
It's like, seems to be my search is like foot pedals.
Pearls, you try them? Pearls?
Yeah, I used to play pearls. Me and David Gerball used to play pearls. Yeah, that's what we used to use. Me and David used to use ghosts.
Ghosts? Really?
Yeah, for a while.
You know what I'm saying? Are they hinged? Some of them are hinged.
Not too much of a preference of that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How about hi-hat? You ever get up on your toes?
Yes, get up on my toes with the hi-hat. It's just, while sitting at the drum set, is to have a really true relationship between your, you know, sitting down the bass drum when you're playing. Say you're playing your ride cymbal and you're stepping on both, you know, the length that the foot hat has to go.
That makes sense.
Or you have to work it out within yourself, like what feels really right point in time for something that's not there, you know. So it's real natural. You can get past the instrument.
A hi-hat, which I don't hear too many cats doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Let's see.
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I feel one of the things I'm most sensitive is that thin edge between like being a studio drummer, and it's just that if I play that way sometimes, they have a way of playing it where it's really simple. I think I can play really simple too. It's just that, you know.
In other words, a studio drummer has to, if he's going to pick a lick for the A part of the song, right? He's got to.
Like, well, for instance, Steve Gadd would choose something.
Yeah, really?
Go live. Yeah, I know Steve. Yeah, he's a great drummer.
Some cat came in. You know Arnold J. Smith, right? You ever met him? He came in with some recording sessions they were doing. Man, I almost had tears in my eyes, man. He really looked at him. Because to me, he's like definitely like one of the most.
You know, it's a grueling.
That whole pace, man.
Yeah.
It seems like both the studio dates.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah?
And I like caught the, and you know, but for this period in my life, I've chosen rather than just to alone. Although, you know, 2 months ago I did a Warren Zevon TV show. You know,
Did you really?
tape in Europe? But it was great. I had a great time.
Oh yeah, like you and Chipito, you guys used to rap. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Chipito's the instrument, the percussion, you know.
Yeah.
He's just so natural, you know. I learned so much from him in Central America, you know, and South America. I mean, his approach to timbales was, you know, to me, still, you know, my favorite.
Does he play track?
You know, plays and so.
The guy with your band, it seemed to me his timbales were real.
Well, this preference, I guess.
Yeah.
Although I like the high timbale, I prefer one of them.
I could. It was a nice sound. It was like a very low tom sound, but it just didn't sound like a timbale. I thought I'm used to hearing a very high timbale. Man, can I get a tea? Yeah, you have a tea. Okay.
Wasaki, 1 tea, check.
Burning the midnight lamp.
It's too.
Thought about going into doing clinics or
But I've been asked recently to do them because I felt, well, some of the people that did them I didn't, really respect, and I felt, I always kind of said to myself, well, Jimi Hendrix never did clinics. Miles is the best clinic.
Yeah.
In front of like a limited amount of people, say a few words about the way technical things although people like to hear it, I prefer to talk about approaches to the instrument. Begin to approach the technical things with the right attitude. You need to, while you're practicing correctly, you're practicing with the right concentration, you know, like, as if somebody was asking me to do something, some stores and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But the way I feel about, you know, a rhythm and rhythms and sitting at your.
You think kids could grasp that though, man?
I would try to make it in a way that, you know, they would, you know, enough so, you know, they could see, you know, what happens once it gets to a certain. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind talking about technical things because it's really necessary. Those approaches and motivations, you know, why you're there sitting behind the drums.
Who would you root wise?
Well, Steve Gadd, so many.
How about Joe Jones, any of those cats?
Yeah, I was supposed to relate.
Yeah.
At this point, so you know, I would probably hearing correctly.
Yeah.
You know,
Have you ever sat down and at the drums and stuff?
a lot of other drummers, most other drummers.
Yeah.
I mean, Lenny White, you know,
Like,
years and years, and you know, Elvin and even Tony.
Certain cats come off to me. It's like Elvin. There's a guy that, you know, man, what can you say about Elvin? Good, but they don't strike me as like approaching music from a philosophical angle. You know, so like, I don't know why. Maybe it's just a time in his life or something, but he just, you know what I mean? He did.
You know, like a consistent clarity